I'd like to introduce the concept of a foreign exchange market in this short video. When we talk about the foreign exchange market, it's the place where a price of one currency in terms of another is determined. It's a market like any other. We've got both supply and demand, and the interaction of those two results in a price. But the foreign exchange market is a very particular market because it is not for a good, but instead for a currency. Now, the foreign exchange market is going to be characterized by an interaction of private supply and private demand for a currency. It is going to be people coming to the market to have their own currency or have a currency and want to exchange it for another country's currency. For example, somebody that may be coming with dollars in order to buy pounds. Now, note that I'm talking about private supply and private demand. It is absolutely the case that government actions can affect the foreign exchange market through intervention so that it's not just private supply and private demand. But we'll set that aside for the moment and talk about the underlying dynamics. Now, one thing that I want to make very clear is that the foreign exchange market is not the same thing as the money market. Now, some of you may have learned about money markets in a macroeconomics course. That is typically something that happens within a domestic economy. There may be international transactions, but it is very much related to the supply and demand for money inside an economy. The foreign exchange market is clearly related to the amount of money in the economy, but it's one currency demanded for another currency. It's not the internal workings of a domestic money market. Okay, so let's first talk about let's talk about the demand side of this thing. And this is, say, who is going to bring dollars in order to demand pounds. Okay, so this is you can write this slightly different. This is the demand for pounds. So this is the P reflects the private part of this, the private demand for pounds by Americans who are bringing dollars to the foreign exchange market in order to get pounds. Okay, so who are people that might have dollars and want pounds? One, U.S. consumers of UK goods. An American needs pounds in order to buy UK goods, either directly or indirectly. If you're buying a Jaguar at a local US car dealership, ultimately the British company is going to get pounds. So even if the US consumer does not show up with pounds to the local car dealership, they're bringing dollars, and eventually that turns into pounds in order to make payments to the British company. So that's one source of demand for pounds. U.S. purchasers of UK services. So for example, if an American tourist goes to London for a summer vacation, they're going to be bringing dollars, and they need to exchange those dollars for pounds in order to purchase hotel services or a restaurant in London. and U.S. purchasers of UK assets. An American coming to the foreign exchange market in order to buy, say, stock in a British company. So recalling the balance of payments accounts that we've talked about before, this should seem familiar. So really you have goods, services, and assets. So these are various components of balance of payments. Now, who supplies? Pounds. Again, this is the private supply of pounds. These are people who have pounds who want to exchange it for dollars in the foreign exchange market. Now, who's going to be supplying pounds? That's going to be UK citizens who want to get US stuff. So we've got the UK consumers of US goods, UK consumers of US services, UK consumers of US assets. So the demand and supply of pounds in the foreign exchange market is a derived supply and demand from underlying behavior of people wanting to do other things. Now, there's also going to be some role for speculation, for people who want to buy or sell pounds purely for an investment purposes, not without wanting to purchase goods, services, or assets. But we'll talk about that in another video. Now, another thing that I'd like you to be very aware of is that the demand for pounds reflects a private supply of dollars. Now, these U.S. consumers of goods, of UK goods, services, and assets are bringing dollars to the foreign exchange market in order to demand British pounds. So these are reflecting different ways of looking at the same phenomenon. The same way that the private supply of pounds by British citizens who want to get dollars reflects the private demand for dollars. So it's important to keep in mind that these are flip sides of the same thing. Now, if we look at the foreign exchange market, we're going to have a private supply of pounds, and we've got a private demand for pounds, and then we have a price of pounds on this axis here. And we'll talk a little bit more about how to interpret the price of pounds in just a bit, but let me just think about some of the mechanics here. So we've got the supply, and we've got the demand. We've got a price. Let's imagine that there is some increase in the demand for pounds by US citizens in order to buy UK goods, services, or assets. An increase in the demand for pounds. So what you would have in this case increased demand for pounds because of the underlying demands for these goods, services, and assets will increase the price of pounds. Okay. The increase in price of pounds, how many in terms of dollars, is going to be a pound appreciation. Okay, that's the term that we're going to use. If there's an increase in the price of pounds, we say that the pound has appreciated. Now, let's take a look at that from the standpoint of the dollar. Okay, same phenomenon. Increase in the demand for pounds. That's an increase in the demand for pounds by Americans who want to supply dollars in order to increase their purchases of UK goods, services, or assets. So an increase in the demand for pounds is another way of saying that the supply of dollars has increased. And the price of dollars would fall. So you can look at this from this standpoint, or you can look at it in the dollar market. So an increase in the demand for pounds by American citizens is the same thing as an increased supply of dollars. A decrease in the price of dollars. In other words, a dollar depreciation. Now, note I'm not saying a dollar devaluation. That has a different meaning, so we'll come back to that. But right now, this changing market pressure is described as a dollar depreciation. So what we're seeing here is flip sides of the same phenomenon. So in a subsequent video, I'm going to talk about what we mean by the price of dollars, the price of pounds in terms of the exchange rate. But we'll save that for another time. So I want to note that I've got other international econ videos at this YouTube site. So if you're interested, please be sure to take a look at that.